The Meet Me for Coffee podcast is on site this week at the Journal of Commerce Inland Distribution Conference 2025 here in one of my favorite cities, Chicago. I'm excited to have a lot of speakers on the show this week, and we're going to be bringing some great content and hearing a lot of really great insights about what's going on in our industry and the broader supply chain. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us again. We are recording here on site at the Journal of Commerce Inland Distribution Conference 2025 in Chicago. I am joined by Reed. Reed, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Well, first of all, can you introduce yourself real quickly?
Of course, yeah. So my name is Reed Loustalot. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Truck Parking Club, and this is my second time on your esteemed show.
Yes.
And I'm fortunate to be back. I guess the first time was about a year ago.
It was about a year ago, so we were just talking about that. The last time we connected was at the Trimble Insight Conference, had you on the podcast, and we were just debating timing of that, and we found out it was like exactly a year ago. So, 12 months have gone by. What's new with you? What's new with Truck Parking Club?
Yeah, so I don't know the exact number, but we probably had about 700 locations at that point, and we're up to 2,900 now.
Wow.
And so we hit 1,000 in November, we hit 2,000 in May, and we'll hit 3,000 in October at some point. So rapid expansion, team's done a lot, grown. There's a lot to talk about.
Can you tell me a little bit about just fundamentally what is Truck Parking Club?
Sure. Yeah, so Truck Parking Club is a truck parking marketplace where we help drivers find and reserve hourly, daily, weekly, and monthly truck parking across the U.S. at 2,900 locations. And all the locations are third-party businesses with space for parking. So trucking companies got extra yard space. They can put it on with us. Warehouses, repair shops, CDL schools. Did I say warehouses already? Warehouses. Really, any business that has outdoor space that's suitable for truck parking can list it on our site. And it could be one space, it could be 100, it could be 500, and everywhere in between. So, yeah, we 2,900 locations. We add about 15 a day, and drivers use us, fleets use us, brokers use us, but primarily drivers might use us for over-the-road, kind of nightly parking. They might use us to store their truck when they go home. Fleets use us for dropping trailers, equipment storage, staging equipment, stuff like that.
I've seen the space for truck parking actually get brought up in legislation and stuff in the last couple of years. So yep. I know that for some reason specifically, I just saw a lot of this funding to be announced towards this was geared towards Florida specifically, so they must have bad truck parking options. Yeah. But it's obviously something that's, the broader nation, if you will, has been made aware of the need. Yep. So when did you guys kind of identify that need? I don't know what year you started, and how has that been, how's that grown?
Sure, yeah. So I guess just some clip notes on our founding. So Evan started the company about 3 years ago in November, and it was because he was in real estate and he was looking at a deal to buy a piece of property and do truck parking because he had heard about the problem. Long story short, he went to the municipality, proposed the project. They were like, no, we won't support you doing truck parking here, even though it was properly zoned and all that stuff. And so he was like, okay, well, if there's such a need and you can't build it, what do we do, basically? Yeah. And he was like, well, why don't we just go leverage existing space, right? There's lots of space out there where trucks might already be parking, but it's not open to the public. It's not visible to the world. And so that was kind of the genesis of the idea. And there's been, it's probably one of the few agreed upon issues in the industry.
Sure.
And so, the government takes it seriously, states take it seriously, and pretty much everyone knows it's an issue. There's lots of kind of debate about how big the issue is from a number of spaces standpoint. We've recently done our own kind of analysis and arrived at a 1.7 million space shortage just based on the amount of trucks on the road, how many of them need to park on a daily basis, that sort of thing, which is probably the biggest number that anyone said. We've seen 300,000, we've seen 600,000. Either way, it's a lot. And so there have been lots of bills in Congress. Truck Parking Safety Improvement Act is probably the most well-known one. But Secretary Duffy did just kind of release some emergency funding over the summer. Florida got a big chunk of that. I'm not sure why, but they did. I think it was 180 million. At the end of the day, a lot of those projects, one, they take a while because they're in Congress and there's lots of kind of debate about these things. And projects like that cost a lot and they take a long time. And so where we kind of come in is like space now.
Sure.
Expanding capacity now. So we're up to about 49,000, almost 50,000 spaces across all our network. And, we add about 1,000 a week new spaces.
Yeah,
So,
but not only is it, space now, but I'd have to imagine that you guys are offering all different types of businesses a unique way to kind of diversify a revenue income.
Yep.
Because they're making money off of this, right? When
Yep.
they're putting their space up.
Yep.
Yeah.
So just for an example, we have probably about 300 to 400 trucking companies that literally have put their yard on Truck Parking Club.
Yeah.
And for them, that's like potentially meaningful income, right? And especially in a down market. And it's not just trucking companies. I mean, repair shops, all the types of companies I've listed. I mean, this is, for a lot of them, like meaningful income that helps supplement their main business. And so when you park with us and you pay to park with us, you're kind of, in a way, kind of investing into this ecosystem of local businesses.
Giving the money back to a local business instead of a large real estate company, right? That came in. Yeah, and that's really cool. So something that has been growing in our space is actually heard it officially given a name and coined TAAS, Trailers as a Service.
Yep.
So are you guys also trying to, accommodate your service to not just truck parking, but now we have all these trailers out there that I have to imagine we have more trailers that need to be stored somewhere. So how does that work?
Yeah, so I mean, there are I don't know the exact number, but there are many more trailers than there are trucks in the U.S. It's substantially more, many millions more, and so obviously all those trailers need to park, and so we do park a lot of trailers, and like brokerages are leasing trailers. You see that a lot these days, and there's companies that are providing kind of a marketplace for trailer space or for trailer rental, which is cool. And obviously they all need to park, and brokers aren't necessarily always in the business of owning real estate or having place to park trailers, and so folks are using us to store that equipment, whether it's loaded or empty. It might be a storage yard, it might be a drop trailer project where maybe a shipper of theirs or receiver is like, hey, we've got this project and you need to drop trailers, but you can't park them at our location. You need to go find your own thing. And so historically what that's meant, and it's not just for trailers, it's really any business, any carrier or broker that's chasing business might need to have space to park their stage equipment. And like historically that's meant, okay, I need to go on Google, I need to call a bunch of people, like I don't exactly know what I'm getting, like I might need to, if I'm paying them, I might be paying them with like a check or something like that, and it's a total pain. And so we make that much, much easier. And oftentimes there's leases involved, and it could be a year or 2 or 3 years. And so that's very kind of, that necessarily, all that kind of, those barriers necessarily limit the amount of folks who would chase that kind of business. And so because we're kind of at will and you can use us whenever you want and there's no contracts, you can rent a space for a month, and if it doesn't work out, fine. Or you can rent a space and it works out, and now all of a sudden you need 10 spaces, and you can do that easily. Or you need 50 spaces somewhere else, and we have teams that help source that stuff too. So we're doing deals like that all the time.
Do you also get to find a way to, I'm just spitballing here because you have all of these carriers that are probably using your app to park and to find space, but then maybe you have these brokers or these organizations doing the trailers. Have you guys been able to get to a point where you're creating like an ecosystem where these carriers can start kind of tapping into some of the needs that these brokers or shippers might have to move the trailer equipment as well? For sure.
I mean, we hear from carriers all the time that like what they're able to do leveraging our locations is business that they would have never done otherwise, right? Like, because they don't want to go out and sign a year lease on a piece of property, or they don't want to fumble about with sending checks out every month for a lease on a piece of property. So, I mean,
so they could like run a drop yard in a market where they don't have a terminal.
100%, easily. And they don't even need to talk to us. They can just use our app and book a spot if they want. If they have needs of 5 or more trucks or trailers, we have a team that will literally source. If we don't have an existing location that works, because oftentimes it'll come with requirements. It might be like, okay, we need cameras, we need a gate, we need lights, we need security, right? Or whatever the amenities they require. They'll come to us. We'll compare that against what we have in the area. We'll give them options. If they don't work for whatever reason, we'll go and source options too, and it'll all kind of flow through our technology and our billing and payments and all that stuff. And we just make it really easy for fleets to kind of start to have space without really needing to worry about any of the stuff they've traditionally had to worry about.
Yeah, it's like that self-serve model that in a lot of ways, a lot of us like, yeah, you like to be able to call customer service sometimes, but when I make a dinner reservation, I just go on Open Table and see all my options and click the time I want, and I know I can show up and it's going to be ready.
Exactly like that. Yep.
Same thing.
Yeah, very, very simple. It's good, and we hear stories every day from carriers who are like, I'm doing this, it's because of you, and I wasn't doing it before. Thank you, basically. And we're like, oh wow, because oftentimes we're not even like, new use cases are being told to us every day. Like, we can't come up with everything ourselves, but it's just an opportunity for us to learn and then tell the world, hey, these people are doing this, you can do this.
Yeah. Sure. Anything anything interesting, any kind of crazy, quirky use cases come to mind? Putting you on the spot here.
I mean, massive projects, just massive amounts of it's kind of crazy. Like, we all know that there's lots of equipment out there, lots of trucks on the road, lots of trailers, but then you have a company come to you and they're like, oh, we need to park 700 trailers in this market between these locations for the next 2 years. And you're just like, holy cow, like, what were you doing before?
Yeah, like, where were these?
And they're like, and a lot of them are doing it, but it's just such a pain for them to do it. They have, each location is a different vendor that they each have to pay, and each vendor has a different payment method, and it's just a total pain. And from an accounting standpoint, from just an operation standpoint, it's a pain. And we're also hearing this from fleets too in providing parking to their drivers, because historically fleets have been like, hey, drivers, figure it out yourself. Like, park at the truck stop or park at the rest area, and it's on you. And that's almost like, it almost had to be that way because there were no other options.
Yeah.
But now we've got this big network that drivers can leverage and fleets can leverage. And we think that there's a very serious business case for a fleet, for a variety of reasons, to provide access to their drivers to these locations. It's an efficiency issue, it's a safety issue, it's just an overall productivity and an asset utilization issue. And so, yeah, I mean, the fleet side of things for us, both from a large scale kind of trailer storage or equipment storage, but it's also just like, drivers need options for parking, because a lot of times drivers will stop 3-4 hours early when they have 3 or 4 hours left on their clock, and they'll stop and they won't get that time back. And they're stopping for good reason. Like, if I park at a truck stop and I get fuel and I still have 3 hours left on my clock, but I don't know at the end of those 3 hours if I'm going to have a spot.
And I actually see a spot there.
Exactly.
You're going to feel like,
and
you
they
might take
it. They might take that trade, and that makes sense. But like, and fleets for a long time have not really had any options. Okay, like, you need to drive 3 more hours. Like, you have 3 more hours left. You're not going to get that time back. But like, what are you going to do, right? Like, and so oftentimes drivers find themselves on ramps or in places they really shouldn't be, or in unsafe situations.
Yeah, I was going to say, I see it all the time, unfortunately, where you see these trucks pulled over on the shoulder of the highways, and it's just like, that's really not ideal. They put a couple cones out, maybe, but like, they're sitting
it's
right
a
there.
Serious issue, because it's a huge liability issue for the fleets too, because if you're parked there, in most states that's illegal, and if you get hit, it's your fault.
Yeah.
And that's a huge problem for fleets, and it's a huge problem for the drivers from a safety standpoint, you know what I mean? And so we're basically, our message to fleets is, hey, you've not had options before, but you have options now. Mm-hmm. And there were a million other reasons why fleets weren't providing parking to their drivers either. I mean, it's the same stuff as the trailer storage. It's like paying people, keeping track of accounting, keeping track of where the heck they're parking.
Yeah, like if your driver has to go pay to get in, they have to pay a certain form. Now you have to reimburse drivers.
Yeah, and most of them, even if they want to do it, it's still such a pain, and it's such like a overhead from like a staff and just like a mind share standpoint, that a lot of them just throw their hands up and they're like, okay, sorry, we're not gonna do that. And so really our job is to go out to the world and say to fleets, hey, you have options now. And we've got 49,000 options for your drivers across the country, and we're adding 1,000 a week.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, open mic here for a minute. I'll stop my questions. Anything that you have observed, found interesting, noticed going on in our space, in our industry, that's impacting the way you guys do business, the way your customers, partners do business?
I mean, I think it's no secret that the market's been in the dumps for a while now, and folks are really having to get creative to to survive. And I think we're providing just a very valuable resource where if you can just like get creative, you can operate much more efficiently. You can chase business you've never chased before. You can do things you've never done before, and that's just all as a result of having access to this network. So I'm most excited by just hearing about new ways folks are using us, because generally at the end of the day, if you can make a meaningful impact, in somebody's business, like that's super cool. So we're hearing that all the time. So
just talking earlier on one of my recordings about how like shippers are starting to use AI in their sourcing models, so where they're pulling product from.
Yep.
And so they are making more flexible, last minute, short lead time decisions on where we're going to go source stuff, which obviously is going to have that ripple effect into the logistics space, because now you're changing at a faster frequency where goods are coming from and who's moving them. So we have to be able to start, brokers, I think of brokers especially, like they've always been flexible. They tout flexibility as like we can go find capacity in different markets and all of these things. But if we're talking projects or transloading or storage or drop yards, like those are things that require some type of physical real estate space, and it's a little harder historically to be flexible.
Yeah, when you're operating in the real world, you are necessarily kind of hamstrung, or you're beholden to kind of the circumstances of that area or what your capabilities are. And basically what we're able to do is knock down a lot of those barriers. And so I think we are providing just a lot more flexibility for folks, and a lot of companies do not want to be in the real estate game. They do not want to sign leases. They do not want to build. They don't want to put gates up. They don't want to put lights up. They don't want to do all these things. And we're basically saying to them, hey, you don't have to. Like, we've got 50 locations within 10 miles of there, and you could start tomorrow if you want, or you could start today. And so the flexibility piece is a huge thing for us. And I think, it's definitely a trend. You see folks getting a lot more creative and a lot more, and just because they have to, right? Hard times kind of force you to get creative. And so I think it's cool to see. Obviously, it's still a tough market for a lot of folks, and who knows when that's going to stop. But we're just chugging along, trying to get as many locations and spaces as we can, and just provide drivers and fleets and brokers and all the folks who need to park equipment just as many options as we can.
Yeah. Last question, just because I'm nosy. I mentioned AI, and I know that AI is growing. Have you guys been able to find a way that AI makes sense in your business to help with your offerings? Yeah,
so we have not implemented it yet, but we have a customer service team 24/7. It's all former drivers, and we get a lot of phone calls, and we get a lot of folks asking us questions. We want to have somebody staffed to kind of handle the kind of issues that humans need to be able to handle.
Yes.
But a lot of times, if somebody's just asking for basic information, perhaps a voice agent might be good enough, or even the best option to answer some of those questions. And so we've looked into that, and we're pretty far along in implementing something like that. And just in my day-to-day, I don't know. You use
it's like a pharmacy. Like I called the other day, Walgreens. I just need a refill prescription. Super basic standard stuff. I just talked to the robot, answer a few questions. It's ready to go.
Yeah, and that might be better.
But if I call and I need to talk to a pharmacist about a certain type of medication, you need to talk to the pharmacist, right? So, but there's obviously those use cases where you can find.
Yep. So there's that, and then who knows what else? But a lot more to come.
Yeah, awesome. Well, if anybody is interested in learning more about Truck Parking Club, what you guys are doing, what's the best way to connect with you?
Just go to truckparkingclub.com.
Awesome. Yep. And you are on LinkedIn, I know that.
Truck Parking Club's everywhere. We are on every platform. We do a lot of content. So you can follow us on TikTok, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, or X, LinkedIn. I might have already said that. We're everywhere.
Awesome.
Everywhere, all the time.
I have one last question for you. Is this your first time attending inland distribution?
No, this is my third time.
Third time. I think it's my third. I don't remember if it was my third or fourth, but I've been at least 3 times. What's one of the reasons that you come back? What makes this conference great?
It's. I think the space is really good because it's kind of compressed, so you're kind of forced to interact with a lot of different people. And so, if you just hang out in the bar up there in the lobby, you'll run into all sorts of different people, and it's kind of, there's not a lot of places to hide.
Yeah.
And I think they really bring together a good group of people too.
Agreed.
So yeah, I mean, I think it's a great event.
Yeah, I mean, we have, I think they said there's over 700 people here this time, and we're all in a fairly small space. And so
Yep.
you're right, you just get to like brush shoulders with people constantly. I know I do the Vegas conferences too, and I love it, but it's like you walk like half a mile
Yeah.
from your room to the conference, and then between sessions, it's hard. It's hard to find people.
It honestly seems like the programming is really good this year too.
Yes.
Like I've rarely do I go to shows and I'm like, man, I really want to go to that. But like I think tomorrow they're talking about the railroads, like because there's like that big railroad deal.
Yeah, I
right
think
now.
they have Jim Vena on,
Yeah.
the CEO, talking about the big proposed merger
Yeah.
and kind of what's. I know I saw that as well. A lot of things where, I'm podcasting and speaking, but I'm like trying to make the schedules around the sessions I want to attend.
Yeah, there's good stuff to talk about,
Yeah.
which is good for you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast again. I appreciate the update. It sounds like things are going great, and I enjoyed hearing from you.
Thanks, Samantha.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Meet Me for Coffee podcast. We're recording on-site at the Journal of Commerce Inland Distribution Conference this week. If you like this episode, be sure to check out our channels where we'll have multiple others published here this week with content from the show. And in just a couple of weeks, we'll be back to our regularly scheduled programming, discussing where freight markets and economics meet. I hope you guys can meet us for coffee.